Hello, everyone. My name is Satya Shrestha. I am a staff multi-cloud solutions architect here at VMware. Today with me, I have Barbara, who is from Oracle. Hey, Barbara, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. Hi, Satya. So my name is Barbara Rabinowicz, and I'm a lead Oracle Cloud infrastructure specialist within the cloud engineering team.
Awesome. So today we'll be talking a little bit around OCVS, some popular use cases, and then we'll also show you how you can integrate Oracle Autonomous DB with OCVS SDDCs. Now, with that, let's get started. VMware Cloud is now ubiquitous. That means VMware Cloud can be run on private cloud, which many of our customers are already doing so. It can also be run on edge, it can run on in a hybrid infrastructure and also on public cloud. Clouds like Oracle, OCI, now can host Oracle-based VMware SDDC. We call it OCVS, Oracle Cloud VMware Solution. And all of this infrastructure, whether it is on private, edge, hybrid, or public clouds, it is built on top of what we call VMware Cloud Foundation. So VCF consists of vSphere, NSXT, and vSAN. So that's the basic building block for SDDCs on all this cloud, right? What that means is you have a unified infrastructure spread across all these different clouds where you can host your virtual machines and also your modern apps that are built on containers and Kubernetes. If you are already a VMware customer, the beauty of all this cloud is you can use the same day-to operations. So what that means is that you can have a unified operations. Your day-to operations becomes consistent. That means consistent visibility. If you're using tools like vRealize operations or vRealize automation and all the vRealize suite, that can be run across these clouds. Continue using the same tools to monitor, automate, manage, govern, and secure all clouds everywhere, right? So that is the main value prop of VMware clouds. That also gives you unified networking. That means using an SXT across all these clouds, you can now extend your network, you can manage your network efficiently and use the same network policies across the cloud. Now, developer being the center of everything we do these days, you also get a unified developer experience on all these clouds. That means developers are happy, operations teams are happy, everyone is happy, and it's easier to manage your infrastructure and also your applications with all these features that we have with VMware Cloud. Oracle Cloud VMware Solution. Barbara, why don't you talk about OCVS, what it is, how it is built, and how our customers are using it?
Yeah, so thank you, Satya. As you can see, the OCI, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, has a multiple offerings available, such as bare metal, containers, function, monitoring, databases, storage, file storage, etc. And one of the offerings is an OCVS host. So the ESXi host on Oracle Cloud is built on one of our bare metal offerings. When you provision the OCVS instance, it provisions minimum 3-node clusters, and that's for redundancy. It allows for host failure if needed. So 3 is N+2, so that's the bare minimum.
Right. So in this diagram, we can see here on the green, which is the customer's data center, which many of our customers are already using on their on-premises, right?
Yes.
The building block is, again, VCF. Like I said earlier, you can see vSphere, vSAN, and SXT. We have the same building block VCF on Oracle Cloud VMware Solution as well, isn't it?
Yes, exactly the same building block. And basically, you can use HCX or multiple products such as SRM to migrate in and out your virtual machines between the two SDDCs. Yep.
Yeah, HCX, again, it comes bundled, is it?
It does. And it has basically 2 options. So there is the advanced option, which is bundled into the cluster host, or you can choose enterprise, and HCX Enterprise allows you to migrate a bulk VM migrations online. So, and that you can purchase it for a month or a few months. So it's up to you how you want to purchase that.
Exactly. So HCX is the Hyperloop Now, if you want to migrate in mass lots of your virtual machines from on-prem to the cloud, in this case, Oracle Cloud VMware Solution, you can use a HCX. You can even do live migration if you have, a critical, mission-critical application that you can't afford downtime. Use live migration. If you have lots and lots of virtual machines that you want to run and migrate in parallel, then we have something called replication assisted vMotion, that what Barbara was telling about earlier. For that, you will need enterprise licenses, and then you can migrate all of them live. So cloud migration is much easier now with HCX. Let's talk about the use cases. What are the popular use cases? What do you see, Barbara?
Yeah, look, so we have multiple use cases for why would you move a Oracle, basically your VMware workloads into Oracle Cloud. So the first use case is basically migrate to the cloud. So let's say you don't want to maintain your data center. So you will move all your virtual machines from your on-premise data center to the cloud. And then there is the second hybrid cloud capacity. So basically, if you're running out of capacity within your data center, so instead of purchasing new virtual machines, basically you can provision host on Oracle Cloud, and you can also burst it. So if you want to run it 5 days and then shut it down, or you just want to add another 3 nodes or 4 nodes. So basically within 2.5 hours, you can provision an OCVS cluster, or it takes about an hour to just add a node. So Satya, I don't know if you want to cover the other ones.
Yeah, so just a little bit on hybrid cloud capacity extension. What we are seeing actually across the VMware cloud now, because of this COVID-19 and all these supply chain issues, right? We see a lot of customers using actually VMware cloud for this exact purposes. We see a lot of VDI deployments happening, and also like things like, peak uses where people, they may have, contractors coming in, and then they need to expand their infrastructure. They can't do it on-prem. They can use, OCVS for that purpose, right? So exactly what Barbara said. Disaster recovery is another big one. If you have an existing disaster recovery site, you want to decommission that and you want to provision it on cloud, it's never easier than now, right now. Since we have, the regional availability across the world, that means, if you are in Sydney, for example, and you want to have a disaster recovery site sitting somewhere in Melbourne, or if you want even on other countries like Singapore, that can be done now, right? In the past, when there was no cloud, it used to be really, really hard. But now you can spin up, like Barbara said, within 2.5 hours, you spin up your SDDC and bang, you can just start disaster recovery there. We have SRM, VMware's proven enterprise-grade disaster recovery service that is available with OCVS. Our customers can leverage that. How about you talk about application modernization and workload management? And this is our main topic for today, isn't it? So how are customers using it?
The main use case here is that if you want to move, first of all, to the cloud, you can basically move your virtual machines to the cloud, to the Oracle Cloud or OCI as is. And then it's up to you if you want to, leverage some of the Oracle services that are available. For example, if you want to use your Oracle database, Oracle Analytics, Oracle integration, if you want to start using more and more cloud services, that's also available. And also you can also use the VMware capability of containers on OCVS. We always keep a latest with the latest version, so that's another possibility.
100%. So what I see actually our customers do is when they migrate their on-prem environment or on-prem workloads to services like Oracle Cloud VMware Solution, and now they have plethora of services sitting on Oracle, native Oracle services now, because all these VMs are now sitting on Oracle Cloud SDDC on OCVS. That means that these VMs can natively access, right, with low latency, high bandwidth connection to anything sitting on OCI, isn't it? So that means they don't have to pay any egress charge, and they can now innovatively start creating applications that people may not even have thought about before. The example Barbara said was around using autonomous DB. That is, you may have like petabytes of data sitting already on autonomous DB. Now you want to use that. Of course, you can use that from Oracle OCVS SDDC, right? Same thing with so many other beautiful services that Oracle has that people can start using it. And on top of that, on VMware Cloud, our OCVS stack, you can create Tanzu containers and all these modern apps that you can actually start modernizing your infrastructure and continue using Oracle services that way as well. So this is becoming one of the interesting use cases, and many of our customers are actually using that these days. What about government cloud? What capabilities do we have for government cloud on OCI and OCVS?
Yeah, so basically government cloud. So we have just recently, I think November 2021, basically we've released 34 regions around the world, and these are our retail OCI regions.
Right.
And we have also government regions that are more protected. So basically a OCVS or Oracle VMware SDDC is available within all the Oracle regions around the world.
Awesome. And for government workloads also, you can start using OCI or OCVS infrastructure, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. So how about we talk a little bit around SDDC? What are the ways we can put the SDDC and start communicating with different components and services in OCVS or OCI?
Yeah, so what I thought to demonstrate here is basically you can see that you have a VCN, which is the virtual cloud network, and then there is a single VCN here. And within that VCN, you can see there are different subnets. So there's a public subnet, there are different subnets. So for OCVS, you can allocate a subnet of /21 or /24 subnet and basically provision your VMware cluster there. And the minimum is 3 nodes. I think the objective is just to demonstrate that it's quite easily integrated to other services. Like you can have your containers, virtual machines, and bare metal, or you can have your databases, DBCS, Autonomous, and Exadata. And it's just a matter of opening those security rules to actually access those services. Or you can use the generic services which are available within the OCI region. So this diagram in summary just represents the integration between the different components.
I like it. I like a very simplified diagram. I can already see, even for someone who's not really native OCI expert, I can just looking at this diagram and say, hey, there is a VCN. Within VCN, you have multiple subnets. Some could be public, some could be private. And in our case, in the middle, VMware SDDC sitting here on OCVS, it is in a private subnet. And then, like I said, opening some firewall rules, we can start connecting to other services on private subnet. Could be virtual machines, containers, or databases, right? And if there's object storage, which is sitting outside of VCN, you can also connect to that. Yeah, this is a good diagram.
Exactly.
I like it. Yeah. All right, so today's main topic, however, is talking about how we can integrate OCVS, the VMs or workloads sitting inside OCVS, to Oracle Autonomous DB. Oracle Autonomous DB is, I would say, one of the leading database services in the world, right? So, and I know many of our customers are already leveraging it, already using it. If you have petabytes, terabytes of database sitting on Autonomous DB, how do we manage it? How do we connect to that Autonomous DB from your VMware workload sitting inside OCVS SDDC? That is the main demo that we are going to do today. So why don't you take us through this diagram, this architecture diagram, Barbara?
Yes. So basically, what happened is that we will pick an OCI region, and within the OCI region we have a VCN, and that VCN has 2 subnets. So first of all, to connect to the SDDC, because we created the SDDC in a private subnet, we created basically a Bastion Windows host. And OCI VMware admin, in this case myself, I will just be running RDP to this Windows box. And from this Windows box, we have Google Chrome installed, and we will access the vCenter for those OCVS hosts. So the first thing that we'll show is basically how to connect to the how to get the OCVS details from the OCI console. We'll then connect to the vCenter, and then we'll have a look at the VM that we've created before with Oracle tools installed. And then we'll provision an autonomous database we'll copy that wallet to that virtual machine on that vCenter, on that a VM, and we'll connect that VM to this autonomous database. Things that I just wanted to highlight, basically, this is the different CIDR blocks that we use for the public subnet, and for the private subnet. Just to remind you, there are two CIDR blocks. One CIDR block is for the OCVS or for the SDDC cluster, and another CIDR block is for the virtual machines that are created on top of that. I don't know if that makes sense. So yeah,
100% makes sense. So all the workloads, including this Bastion host, it is sitting on a separate subnet, right? It's sitting on a separate subnet, and the host itself is ESXi host. They are sitting on a separate CIDR range, separate hosts. Yeah, makes sense.
That's right. And the virtual machines VMs are also sitting on a separate CIDR block.
Yeah, so the SDDC workload CIDR, that's the virtual machine CIDR, isn't
That's
it?
a virtual machine CIDR. That's exactly right. Yep.
Awesome. Let's get into it. So you will be demonstrating us how to do that, right, Barbara?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
So this is my Windows box, and if you remember, the Windows box, I just did an RDP session to it.
So this is a Windows box, the Bastion host you're already connected to, right?
Yeah, this is the Bastion host that I'm already connected to.
How about you show how this Bastion host looks like in OCI, if that is possible?
Yes, definitely, I can show that. For example, so what I'll do is maybe I'll just, so this is my OCI region, and my VMware cluster is actually sitting in the Tokyo region. So if I go here into the networking, and this is the virtual cloud networks. So this is the VCN that we spoke about earlier. The name of the VCN, it's called OCVS1, right? So this is the container, and this is the CIDR blocks for this VCN. And then within this VCN, you can see that we have the subnet jump host OCVS1.
Yeah.
And this is the subnet that I've created my compute. So if I go here into the compute, compute instances, so that would be my, I think I called it Vim
backup.
Yes, so this is, I did some testing here. So basically this is the CIDR block. So basically I copy this public IP address, and I just do an RDP using that username, and I just say copy that password. And that subnet would have a security rules to the that will allow you access to the SDDC, to the VMware SDDC. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So what I'm going to show you now is how to access your OCVS instance. So so I'll go into the hamburger menu and just click on hybrid, and just go to VMware Solution. And my name of the SDDC cluster is called OCVS1. So I'll just click on that.
Right.
Yay. So Satya, as you mentioned before, the SDDC comes with HCX enabled by default. Yeah. So, and if you want to, and I'll cover later if you want to change it to enterprise or keep it advanced. The version is version 7 update 2, and this is
the latest one, right?
This is the latest one. That's right. And this is the CIDR block of the workload. So this is for the virtual machines that are running on top. This is the NSX edge IP address. So everything that leaves, the OCVS instance will exit with this IP address. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah. And over here, you have the different components such as the vCenter, the NSX, and the HCX, and you have the DNS and IP address, and you have the username and password for each one of those components.
Awesome.
And if you want to change your HCX license type, you just click here, and basically you say that you want to move to an enterprise level.
And they will be charged in a monthly basis, right?
They will be charged for the enterprise on a monthly basis, and you can change that as well if you don't want to use it anymore.
Yeah, I like it. Very, very seamless. Yep.
Yeah. These are the 3 OCVS nodes, OCVS 1-1, 2, and 3. They're all billed on a monthly basis. And basically, to add a new one, you just click create and you put a name for it. You say which pricing interval commitment you would like to use, and you just create an ESXi host, and within an hour you have a new host.
Right. Okay. Good stuff.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. Yeah. So that's summarized a OCVS information. There is more detailed information, such as the different VLANs that are created, but that's more for internal use. So I thought what I might do at the moment is just jump to the vCenter. So I just took the IP address from here.
Yep.
I used the username and the password.
Yep.
And that's basically my my vCenter.
Nice. So it's the same vCenter, same look and feel that customers are used to in on-prem, right?
Yeah. And basically you have root access to this environment. So basically it's pretty much transparent.
Yes.
We do offer a managed service if you don't want to have that level of access. So I guess it's up to you how you want to operate it. And if I go into here, this is the virtual machine that I created earlier. So it's running Oracle Linux 8, and it's using ESXi 7. Basically, it's running on that ESXi host. Yeah.
So that's the VM we're going to be using to access Autonomous DB, are we?
Yes, that's right.
Got it. Okay.
So what I'm going to do here is I'll just quickly launch a web console. So this is an Oracle Linux.
Right.
I think it's Oracle Linux 8. And that takes me pretty much to the main screen. But what I've done is I've downloaded those RPMs. So so you have the RPM, which is Instant Client Basic. And then you have another RPM, which is SQL Plus.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are these tools for?
So this is a tool. So basically, if I want to run SQL Developer, so you know, this icon is available. So what I would so what I would do is I mean, this one allows you SQL Plus, and for the Java you would need the JDK and the SQL Developer to actually access SQL Developer, and that will allow us to connect to the database from that virtual machine.
So basically just the database clients, and we are installing it here, right?
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Got it.
Yeah, so I think that's about it. So I thought if you want, we can go ahead and start creating a database.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm very excited to see Autonomous DB creation.
All right. Okay. So let's give it a go. So just back to the hamburger menu, I'm going to Oracle Database, Autonomous Database. You know, we have the compartment. So a compartment is basically a logical grouping of resources. So I choose the OCVS compartment in this case, but you can use any compartment you want.
Got it.
Maybe not the root compartment, but yeah. So I'll just say call it a OCVS DB-2.
Yep.
And the database name will be OCVS DB2. You can pick database, data warehouse, transaction processing, JSON, or Apex. So I'll just pick the default data warehouse. I'll use the shared infrastructure because the Oracle Autonomous Database is created on Exadata by default, and you can use a dedicated infrastructure, which allows you dedicated infrastructure and is a bit more expensive. I'll go with the default of 1 OCPU and 1 terabyte of storage, and I'll leave the option of OCPU auto scaling.
Yep, makes sense.
And I'll just put the password here. Now let me just check. I might choose the private endpoint access at this in this database. And what this allows me is basically to see what VCN I want to create and what subnet. So I'll just create it in the subnet of OCVS1.
Got it.
Yeah, and that will create it.
So they are sitting on the same subnet, right?
So they're sitting on the same subnet.
Yeah.
And I'll just pick the security group, which is the NSX Edge Uplink VLAN OCVS1.
Right.
And I'll use bring your own license, and I'll just click on create autonomous database. So that's basically it.
Good stuff. It's very seamless and very easy.
While the database is being created, there is a concept of network security groups.
Yeah.
So I've updated that previously. And what I've done is that, so I've allowed access 1522,
Yeah.
which is ingress access from the NSX edge.
All
So
right.
that, yeah. So
Got
that
it.
basically, so if I go into the hybrid cloud, if I go into hybrid and I go into the VMware solution here,
Yeah.
you can see that that's 10.1.0.130.
So
That's the
that's
NSX edge.
NSX is IP. So that means all north-south incoming and outgoing traffic from VMware SDDC that goes through this NSX edge, right?
That's right. If I go back to my database,
and you're showing earlier that in your security group, you have allowed that NSX edge to actually ingress, that can ingress to this DB, right?
that's exactly right. So it can ingress into that database. The
Yeah.
other thing that I've also added, and it might be worthwhile to mention here. So I'm not using a security list because I'm using an NSG, but what I did do is I added a route table. And in that route table, what I'm basically saying that any traffic that comes from a database will go into the SDDC. So any traffic that comes, that the destination is 172.16, which is the SDDC virtual IP address, CIDR, it will be routed into the 10.1.130, which is the edge router, right? Does that make sense?
Right. So if I understood it correctly, in this route table, what you have done is the workload, VM workload, which our virtual machine is, which is our IP is 172.16.0.2. Anything on that range, OCI will route that traffic through 10.1.0.130. Is that right?
That's right. That's exactly right.
And the 10.1.0.130 is our NSXT edge.
That's exactly right.
Got it.
And yeah, then the last thing that basically I wanted to cover is that under the NSX, if I log into the NSX and I go into DNS management, I created a zone earlier called DNS VMW, and I just picked the IP address of the SDDC, and I just added one. So I'll just show you that quickly. So if I go here and I go into the
hybrid VMware solution, OCVS 1.
Yeah. So I go into the SDDC network and I go into the uplink. So basically I just added one, and that allows you, that basically allows you to route all the activities. So I use the 129 address within the NSX, and that acts as a DNS server for the within the NSX, if that makes sense. So that's the DNS zone. So that's the IP address that I used. And then I created a new IP address, which can be any IP address, basically, but hopefully it doesn't conflict with your OCVS, and that points to the DNS zone. Right.
So there is a DNS server that is doing the name resolution, or at least forwarding of that DNS through that other IP address, right? Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what you need to do is you need to go into your tier 1, and you just need to make sure that you have a DNS route. So if you're looking at the route advertisement, you want to see that all DNS forwarder routes are enabled.
Got it.
And then if you go into the tier 0 gateway, and I'm looking into routing. One second. And route distribution. So I'll just click on that one, and I'll click on that reroute distribution. you need to make sure that there is a DNS forwarder IP address, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
And if it's not configured, and that will allow traffic from the OCI IP addresses or DNS to be translated within the VMware virtual machines.
Right. So for proper DNS resolution of your OCI infrastructure, this is important.
Yeah, this is important. So hopefully by now the database has been created. So let me just quickly jump into the console. So the database has been created, and what I'll do is I'll download the wallet. So that's my wallet. So I'll just download it here.
Right. And this wallet has all the connection information that is required for the SQL client, a SQL developer, that you can use to connect using the SQL developer client on the Linux machine, right? That is inside the SDDC.
That's right. That's exactly right. So it has all the connection information. So, and as you can see, we have the WinNCP downloaded, and that's my wallet. So I'll just copy that wallet here, and that's done. So I'll go back to my instance. And over here. So what I'll do is I'll unzip my wallet. Just and just cut the DNS names. I might try and connect through SQL Developer and see if that works.
Yeah, let's try that.
Let me try that. Yeah, and voila, I'm in.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I go here and, you know, you can run a query that gives you all the tables in the database.
Right.
At least should give you all the tables. So that's basically it. That's so that was pretty quick.
Good stuff. So basically what we did here is this virtual machine, as you can see here, BR-VMW01 with IP address 172.16.0.2 residing inside OCVS SDDC now can connect to the autonomous DB, which we just created easily, right? And we use the SQL developer, Oracle SQL developer client for that. And you can see it's connected. Awesome. Great job, Barbara. I really like it.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Satya.
Yeah, awesome demo. I hope, you know, our viewers find this demonstration and this video useful. And we'll come up with many more similar kind of videos in the future. So till then, have a good one, everyone. And thanks, Barbara.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Satya. Thank you very much for your time.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.